Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new Digital Foundry Play, or DF Retro Play, whatever the name is for this show. I think we've done it a few times before, but we never really laid down the name, did we? It's DFR Play.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of something to differentiate it. But this is the first time we're doing one of these under our new retro structure, I guess you could say.
Now,
So,
stranger, tell me, who are you?
oh, it's me, John Linneman. How's it going?
My colleague and his wonderful friend John Lemon is here to join me for this very special DFR play for one of my favorite games. I'm not sure, what is your relationship to the game Power Blade, John?
So, this is a game that I did not play back in the day. Rather, I stumbled upon a cart of this maybe like 10, 11 years ago in a bundle. And I remember bringing it home, popping it in, and the second I heard that first stage music, I was like, how did I miss this game? This isn't...
Oh,
It's
I
good.
didn't.
It's
I
real
did not
good.
miss it. Let me just tell you, I had this game growing up. It is one of my favorite NES games. I constantly talk about it to you. We play it quite often when I'm at your place. I have a lot of love for it. I have a lot of history with it. And I think we'll get into all that as we play the game. It's me playing today.
That's right. That's why
Usually
you're
it is
hosting.
you.
Exactly.
That's why I'm hosting. And as you can see, my mustache is just twirling at the chance of showing you guys this game. So let's, of course, get it out of the way. Yes, the main character does indeed look like Kirk Douglas. That is the actor that he's always framed to look like. But it is Nova, and he wasn't always Nova.
It's a great title screen, by the way.
That
Look
is
at
an amazing title screen. The whole intro is pretty cool. The game's story is cool. And there is a lot to this being this story that we'll get into. But let's not look at the title screen. Let's just jump into the game here.
All right. So yeah, you have a lot of history with this game.
I certainly do. I played it a ton. I bought it when it came out. I looked at that cover and was just like, is that Arnold Schwarzenegger with a boomerang? I will buy this game.
And actually, the cover, that's the first thing you see when you buy a game like this at the store. But the cover seems to have quite an interesting story to it, or at least it's some interesting stuff there.
Yeah, so I can talk about the cover right away because it is actually done by a good friend of mine now who I've gotten to know over the years, and that is Mike Winterbauer. And Mike was the cover artist for several games by Taito and EA, Origin Systems, a lot of different people he worked for. He did Wing Commander, he did this, he did Battle Mania, believe it or not.
That's right,
well.
Troubleshooter, right?
Troubleshooter, he did that. And Mike's still active, still very much in it, has worked for me even a few times now. But that original cover, as you'll see on screen very shortly, the original cover for this game is actually based on him. It is not based on Arnold Schwarzenegger. It just so happens that Mike himself was a bodybuilder and had somewhat of a likeness to Arnold. So that's how it all came to be. But I think for most people, it's still always just going to be Arnold. It's not going to be Mike. But that's probably fine. But, Mike does good work, and it is actually him on the cover. And he released an art book recently, and still active. So look him up. Let him know you watched this episode, and you'll be very happy, because he does love this game, and love the work he did for it.
Now, one thing, though, is you might want to explain to the audience what you're doing here at the beginning in terms of running back and forth. That's key.
Let's get into the mechanics here of the game, because you might be seeing me just run back and forth, and I am in fact grinding a little bit here. So you have certain power-ups. You have this trusty boomerang. It can be powered up 3 times with the stars and have then a longer reach. It can be given this glow, which you can see it's now red. And at the beginning here, at stage 1, I like to just run back and forth and actually get those power-ups now, because throughout the game, that will make it much easier for me to play it.
Exactly.
So that's why.
Exactly.
So
it's like a simplified version of the initial Ys 3, the Dawn. Wait, no, the Wonder is from Ys. That first cave, man, you spend like an hour just grinding back and forth. So
pretty much.
I always think about that when it comes to this kind of thing. But at least here, it's short, simple, and it works.
Yeah, and it's not like if you die, you lose most of your power-ups, but the game is pretty forgiving, and it is, you can kind of grind. As soon as you have an enemy, they respawn, and you can just kind of do it again. So it's just that here's the perfect spot because you have these running soldiers back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
So
now, one of the things that immediately stands out, though, that I like about this game is that the level design is fairly open-ended, but it's still like funneled enough where it doesn't have that you know, late 80s, early 90s European platform feel. It's
not at all.
But it has some of that vastness in a way.
Yeah, so, and there's a reason for that, because every section has basically a key card that you have to get from one of the informants. So you can see earlier I met this character that was waving at me very nonchalantly. And I picked up a key card because you need that key card to get into the boss room. So if you rush through this stage and don't find them first, you actually cannot enter the boss room. So you have to actually explore each and every stage. And I really like that aspect of it.
Exactly. It's definitely something that differentiates this a little bit from other NES platformers of the era.
Yeah.
Plus,
so here now, you can see that I have kind of like an armor. This is the titular Power Blade. So now I have like this, I'm just getting away from these hazards, but as you can see now, I have this trusty little projectile that I can shoot in every direction. It is extremely powerful, and you can take 3 hits when using this power-up, and after 3 hits, you lose it, so...
But thankfully, when you're in this form, you could really take on what's his name from Turrican? Bren McGuire?
Bren McGuire, yeah, so this is... It's a bit of a... Yeah, you could say there's a little Turrican here. I don't think Taito... this game, by the way, published by Taito in 1991 or 92. Yep. It's pretty late in the system's life. 91.
Yeah.
And was actually developed by Natsume, the same team that was doing Shadow the Ninja and Shatterhand.
Exactly.
So it's kind of part of that. You and I call it the Natsume trilogy, where it's like this, Shadow the Ninja and Shatterhand. They're like the 91, 92 era of NES goodness.
And then they did it again on the Super NES.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the Ninja Warriors once again, the Ninja Warriors again. They had Pocky and Rocky, or Kiki Kai Kai on there, and then Wild Guns.
Wild Guns.
Wild Guns.
Yeah, they've been redoing them lately to great success.
Maybe they should take on Power Blade next.
I would love it. I mean, it's such a good game, man. So quickly took out that boss. This game kind of similar to Mega Man when it comes to the bosses.
Right.
You don't have different weapons, but you have kind of like this bomb that you can see I was spamming at the beginning, and it's super overpowered. That bomb completely breaks the game. So if you just collect some bombs, spam it at the beginning, you should be fine for most of the game. So then Sector 2, you can actually do the sectors out of order. I always just go with the order. So we've avoided the topic of music because it's so good and we keep talking over it, but the music in this game is one of the reasons why I love this game so much, and it is the reason why I kind of got some history of the game eventually. And I guess before getting into the music, actually, we're gonna avoid it a little bit more, but before getting into the music, let's talk about the origins of this game, because Power Blade is a localization of another game. So if you look at the game Power Blazer on the Famicom, which is very similar to this because it actually is this game, sorta, before it was localized into Power Blade for the US market, because I guess by that time Taito or whoever felt that like the more kiddie graphics weren't selling enough. The Super Nintendo had appeared. We were just into the Mortal Kombat era, so I can kind of see why they wanted a more tough guy on the cover in the game. But Power Blazer is very similar to this, but it actually has different stages and in some cases different music. So it's not the exact same game or anything. Both of them are kind of exclusive to each other, so in order to have all the games, you need to
It's interesting how this keeps happening, though, because also it's kind of the same with the Shatterhand.
Yes.
Where it's Tokyu something.
Tokyu Shirei Soul Brain.
Yeah, the Soul Brain. That's right. It's They have completely different. I think it's like based on an anime. The Japanese.
No, it's not. Not an anime. It's a tokusatsu. So that's
right, of course.
Like a live action costume.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Soul Brain. Is Shatterhand basically, and Shatterhand there. Different main character, and actually is a longer game than Soul Brain because it has an extra stage, the submarine stage, right?
Yep, exactly. Stage? And that's one of the reasons why I think Shatterhand is the better game in that case because of the extra content. I actually prefer the jacketed dude with the those fists.
For the longest time, I tried mostly when he was drunk, but I have a friend named Luke who will probably appear on the show eventually due to his profession. But for the longest time when he was drinking, I was always like, let's go to the tattoo parlor and tattoo like the Shatterhand on your hand, like the mechanical parts. And he would always be like, yeah man, let's do it. And for some reason my conscience takes over and says, let's not do that. So, but maybe one day.
So right here, though, this actually showcases something I love about NES games. Well, it's already past now, but it's the spinning gears. The way they try to draw motion by just sort of alternating the frames to give it that sort of metallic sheen. Like all these tricks that you had to do back then with such a limited color palette. And of course, those crushing things are all sprites. And you can see them flicker like crazy when they end up on the same line as each other or you.
Yep.
So watch, as soon as there it goes.
Yeah, there's a lot of flicker. So there's not too much flicker in the game though. It's a fairly competent design game. I mean, flicker is unavoidable on the NES. Especially once you get to this era. But they do a good job of mitigating it as much as possible.
It's not too bad.
So this part is very Castlevania, by the way, as you can see with like the water merman
which is interesting, and because the composer for this game, I believe, had worked on Castlevania previously.
Yes, so let's talk about.
But yeah, let's talk about the music.
Let's talk about the music because the music is amazing, as I mentioned. I actually fell there, but I was thinking too much about the music. But yeah, so the music is handled by Kinu Yamashita, or James Banana for you Castlevania fans. Which, yes, I've asked her several times about the name, and she has no idea where it comes from. But yeah, Kinu is a sweet, wonderful lady, and I had the opportunity to work with her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, when she moved to the US, I kind of was her liaison for a lot of her business. Because her English at that time wasn't as strong. Speaks great English today. But she moved to the US and wanted to do business. And so we got to work together and worked primarily on a couple projects. One being Gunhound, which eventually
of course.
Got a new soundtrack. But during that time, I helped her set up that deal. But yeah, Kinyo did parts of the soundtrack to Castlevania 1 alongside, I forget the other lady's name.
I think it was like Terashima.
Yeah.
So they did that together. And yeah, she's done a lot of projects over the years.
Yes, so of course she did Mega Man X3, which she did Zero's theme, which I think is one of the best themes in all of Mega Man.
Worked on one of the Pocky and Rocky games for the Super NES. I think it was 2 even, but yeah.
And super prolific and somewhat unsung hero of. Damn, I keep.
That same jump.
Yeah. There's a bit of lag in our.
That's part of the recording process. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I'll try to make it this time. But Kinyo did the music for all this. She also did Power Blazer, and then
of course
eventually there was a sequel to this, which she also did.
So the sequel, Power Blade 2, it's one of the more expensive games I think on the NES at this point.
One of the more, I mean, it's around as the recording date. I think it's around like $800 to $900 for the card.
It's very expensive. But I actually don't think the sequel is as good as the original in this case.
Far from it.
So it's not a bad game, but it's definitely a step down.
Yeah, so it introduces some new mechanics like a slide, and but it's linear. It's not. I even think the music, it's a lot more jazz influenced.
Yeah, exactly.
And much slower. And I talked to her about that once, just kind of what the thing was, and it was just kind of. She had kind of done so many action soundtracks on the NES that she wanted to do something else.
Yeah, I can understand that, because, I mean, by that point, she, you know, not just her, but people had been working on the NES for so long, and it's just like, you kind of want to try something new after a while, I'd imagine. And be careful, the jump is coming up.
Yes, I will try my best to.
So here we go, moment of truth.
Oh no, you're making me nervous.
So, it's like when we did that.
Jump! Ah, yeah, I did it.
That Famicom, the Gekikame Ninja Den.
Oh, the jump.
There's some nasty jumps in there.
It certainly is.
Oh, here we go, next boss.
Oh. Yeah, you didn't get to see him because I cheesed him.
Didn't get to see him. You cheesed him.
Yeah. Making up for some lost time with.
You not only cheated the game, you cheated yourself.
Yeah, but you see, we gotta make up for some lost time here. It's not a very interesting boss. I'll put a screenshot right here, and you can see how he looked. So, see, you didn't want to see that guy.
No, you're right.
Sector 3?
Good work. Sector 3, here we go.
So, yeah, so the music, I think, is today probably what's most known about this game.
Yeah, for sure.
I find this game to be quite underrated and appreciated, because a lot of times when I talk to people about their favorite NES games, and kind of this, of course, from my end comes up, because it is in my top 3, for sure, my top 3. And people just kind of like, oh, I kind of remember that. It's the boomerang guy that runs funny. And it's like, yeah, but that's only part of it. And there's so much more to this game, and the challenge is really balanced. The controls are spot on. It's very much like a Castlevania meets Mega Man type game, and done right. So, I mean, obviously,
this was really. It's such a weird time though for NES, because there was still a lot of stuff coming out for the system, but I feel like, you know, by '91, it's like the next generation was partially here and on the way, I guess, with Super NES. And it was just, it kind of felt like, you know, as a kid, you're thinking, oh, that's the old stuff.
Right.
So it was easy to miss these games.
What I've noticed over the years regarding exactly what you're talking about there is that I think, especially in Scandinavia, we had a company called Bergsala, which is still around. And I'm sure a lot of my, or our Scandinavian audience just got a little bit excited when I said Bergsala. But that company in 91 and 92 and even 93 were still marketing the NES quite heavily due to the fact that there were so many installed bases of them, and they saw no reason to stop marketing towards those consoles. I think this came from, you know, our experiences with like Commodore 64 and stuff. We were just more that, you know, we kept our older systems a little bit more active than the American audience maybe.
Yeah.
So that might be why. That's just my opinion, though. If you felt that I kind of hurt you by saying that, don't worry. I don't know if that's true. If you still were playing NES until 94, then you were just like me. But Bergsala was very active. Of course, they put out games like Euphoria, Gimmick, these kinds of games, both of which I have.
Which is key, because Gimmick is one of those games that was only released in the Scandinavian countries.
Only in Sweden. Only in Sweden.
Beyond Japan, of course, where it was Hebereke. But yeah.
Yeah, Euphoria was Hebereke, and then the Gimmick was Mr.
Oh, sorry,
Gimmick.
Yeah. I'm getting my wires crossed, because Euphoria was released in other areas of Europe as well. It was just so Gimmick was Scandinavia only, and then Euphoria was PAL in general, but neither of those games got a North American release, sadly.
No. Euphoria was announced for America, and if you've been following Frank Cifaldi's Twitter just as of this recording, Frank was sent some chipsets for like EP ROMs, like PRG and CHR ROMs.
Oh wow!
Which basically package together games, and it was missing the third chip. So when he actually took a look at what he had been getting, it turned out the collector had misunderstood the architecture of the ROMs for NES. and had actually separated that third chip from the rest. And when he looked up what games he had gotten, he found out that he actually had an undumped version of the US release of Euphoria, and because of this, that's now lost. There's no way to find that third chip, which has all the kind of initiation code, or whatever you should call it, for the NES. So there's no way for him to rescue this.
Oh man.
So it's kind of sad. There is another prototype of Euphoria NTSC out there. I don't know how complete it is. And that's one of those games where, same with Gimmick, you cannot play that on a NTSC machine without it.
Right.
Screwing
it breaks.
Up the sound.
It's not just the sound; it screws up the visuals too. Like you get visual bugs, and it doesn't work at 60 hertz. So you obviously then have to play the Japanese version. So.
So it's a bit of a shame. Those are great games. Hibideke especially, you know, I'll be honest and say that I actually think Mr. Gimmick, for as musically impressive stuff it is.
Oh, I love Mr. Gimmick as a game as well. But I can see why you might prefer Hibideke, because it is kind of, it's pretty interesting. It's a little bit more of an adventure, where Mr. Gimmick is like a hard as nails, fast-paced platform action game.
Yeah, Hibideke is very much like a early example of Metroidvania.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That combination type of gameplay. Yeah, I prefer Euphoria or Hibideke to Mr. Gimmick. Not to say the Gimmick is bad or anything. I certainly enjoy it. The music is amazing. And we'll probably get to that on the FR Play, because I have a cart of that. The Japanese one with the sound chip and everything.
That's awesome.
So this is probably the worst boss, and by worst I don't mean the most difficult, but it's just bees coming out of a hive.
Yep. Not that. Yeah, that's one. This game is a little bit weak in terms of boss fights in general.
It really is, especially ending. Not to skip ahead, but I think they could have done a lot better with the ending to this game, end fights and stuff. But by the time you get there, I think like these stages, as you can see, we haven't talked about the stage design so much.
True.
You can see on the other one had this biomechanic, like this bio background that was moving a lot and was very alive. And I think this is very special for the NES. There's just so much like life in the backgrounds. It's not just static.
Yeah, exactly. And that aesthetic, I think, was still kind of big at the time. You know, we saw it obviously with like Salamander. But like here, there was all that extra animation work going on, and very, very nice.
Not so much parallax scrolling or anything, but it's just a lot of life in the backgrounds. Because here you can see like these clouds are moving and stuff like that. So that's one thing, but see, like that bio...
I will say that Shatterhand, which came after this, I believe,
Yes, came after.
That is much more technically impressive than this game, I would say. And also plays great, but... This is still a very nice looking NES game, I think.
Oh yeah, this is great.
There's a lot of detail in it. The run cycle is awesome. Like it's so bizarre,
I love the run cycle.
It's fantastic.
he's so ready to go. He's ready for a fight.
I also love how the health items are burgers. I feel like if this was a modern game, there'd be like a cholesterol meter or something.
Yeah,
pick
right.
Up the burger, it's like oh, there we go.
Got the power blade.
It's back.
I just love the whole, like, I love when he shoots down too. You can see it strikes this cool pose. It's just awesome, man. This game is awesome. Always felt like these enemies are very Mega Man.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to it, like some of the ladders and the way the platforms are set up. I mean, there's definitely elements that remind me of Mega Man as well. But it is fundamentally a different game because of the especially because of the level design. Because Mega Man really didn't have anything that moved in this way.
No, it's surprising to me, don't you think? Because I always, well, not always, but in later years, I would always kind of think about that and feel like that 5 is such a great game, so I wouldn't say Mega Man 5 needs to be different. That is one of the best Mega Mans of all time. But 6, 6 I always feel like kind of, it's not enough. Like it lacks something.
It does, but it's still a solid game. I feel like on NES they were like, at that point, this is the formula. We're doing more of that until the end, and then they were putting most of their time into Mega Man X, which took longer to develop than a lot longer than usual. So it's like a couple years almost, if I recall.
Yeah,
it was enough time where clearly they were trying to reinvent the formula, and I think they did a great job with X.
Oh, absolutely with X, but I just feel like maybe 6 could have been even better if they introduced like branching paths or something new.
Probably just, so late in the cycle for the system.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people would have just kind of rejected that though, because by that time Mega Man was so established that like branching paths maybe. But something like this where
they did go there though eventually with the series.
Oh, eventually, yes.
Exactly, like the Mega Man Zero kind of games, and there's plenty of this stuff.
Yeah, Mega Man, maybe we'll do like a series of DFR plays or something with Mega Man. I feel like everything has been said about Mega Man at this point.
Yeah, I know that's the problem, is I love Mega Man so much, but it's been discussed so much
endlessly.
As well. Endlessly.
Yeah. So maybe we'll relegate that to like a mega play series or something. Or if people really want a full scope NES Mega Man DF Retro or something, maybe.
Well, we could at least bring in the Mega Drive game.
Definitely.
So, Rockman Mega World.
Which is very interesting, and is getting a US re-release soon from like Retrobit, I think.
That's cool.
I remember they announced that at the E3 we went to together back when that happened, and we haven't seen it since, so it should be on the way. What do you guys?
That was done by the same team that handled the Game Boy games. Well, except for 2, which was kind of the black sheep of the Game Boy games. But yeah, they did a pretty good job on it. There's a couple issues with it, but we'll save that for that episode.
Yeah, and to tie it in with this game, Kinu Yamashita helped out with conversion of the music.
That's right, yeah.
So she was everywhere at that time, and she was really working. I forget what was the name of that company again?
Which one?
People who did the Mega Man thing.
Oh, what? Actually,
Top of my head.
On it as well. It was Minakuchi Engineering.
Minakuchi, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So she was contracted to them at this time, so that's why she popped up on so many of their games. She did a lot of Game Boy stuff as well, and even did a pro wrestling game, believe it or not.
I do believe it, actually.
Which I, of course, asked her about, and she said she did not watch wrestling and just wanted to make good music. So that was the extent of that conversation. So, but no, Kineo and I remained friends for all these years, and she's doing quite well.
That's cool.
I was contemplating bringing her in for this episode, but we'll save it for another day because we did this on last minute.
Exactly, yeah. That's the real reason.
But no, she will definitely appear on DF Retro. Don't worry about that. So, but yeah, Power Blazer is another game that, I saw this game in my store. I bought it as soon as it came out. I bought this in '91, by the way.
Wow. Do you still have your original copy?
Still have my original copy, and today that copy has been signed by Kinu Yamashita because I brought it with me once when I was seeing
awesome.
her. So she happily signed it for me. And this was also, at this time, there was a rental system that was approved by Nintendo in Scandinavia, which came in it's kind of interesting for a lot of people because those rental copies came in big clamshells with kind of customized artwork. So it's basically a Nintendo approved like clamshell for 16-bit and 8-bit, which I think people would have greatly preferred to. I did it.
Oh, definitely. Oof, that was close.
I have a couple of them. I have Shadow Warrior, which is Ninja Gaiden in Europe.
Oh yeah,
due
Shadow
to the
Warrior.
whole ninja ban in the UK. And then I have Power Blade in that. So I still actually have this twice, because I have the rental copy as well.
That's cool.
That was given to me by Eirik Surke of Spelunky fame. Sector 5, almost done.
Right,
But yeah, Power Blazer. I really like Power Blazer, but it actually, believe it or not, doesn't control as well as this version of the game. The controls are slower and less responsive. So they cleaned up this game quite extensively.
Do you know how long how long it took them to bring it out in the West?
So I think Power Blazer was 1990. So it was like a year or so.
Yeah.
And comes in the little Taito case, the one that's kind of similar to the Namcot and Sunsoft cases.
Yep, exactly.
It's pretty cool artwork.
I love that. That was actually kind of the crazy thing about Famicom stuff, more so than in the West, where it was fairly standardized, was the cartridges, the cases, like none of that stuff was like a standard. It was just all over the place.
Because Nintendo, Nintendo didn't print the Famicom cases themselves under their own games. That was actually handled by the publishers. It was only in North America and Europe that Nintendo had like the gray standardized cartridge systems and everything, and that was due to the Atari fallout, right? So,
and then obviously for Super Famicom and onward, they standardized everything again. But
yeah, slightly. I mean, there's two different designs there. There's the European and Japanese design, and then
well, yes, that's right. But still, like all the Japanese games, for instance, come in the same size box with the same kind of cartridge design, casing. So.
Yeah, there are a few different Super Famicom cases that are like supersized, like Mario and Wario. And
but those are exactly special games, and they either would come with like a strategy guide or like the mouse.
Yeah. So
there's little things like little chicken walkers.
They have the chicken walkers. Come on.
Well, not really, but they're cool.
Yeah, they're a little bit. There's something similar in Shatterhand, where you have like an enemy like that.
Half-height enemies are always tricky to deal with sometimes,
They really are.
Always, sometimes. Okay.
Always, sometimes.
That makes sense.
Kind of.
What is that thing rolling around on the platform there? Oh, see, I like that. The way they sort of cut the level there. That was some nice tile work.
You were impressed by the wall?
Yes, I was. And you're completely right again. There's those little circle things on the floor, the turrets that pop up. They are so Mega Man.
They're extremely Mega Man. So,
I would love to see somebody do like a live action, like take on an NES era game where you like the enemies are literally just running back and forth in place like that. Very spirited until the players.
Full Commando.
Well.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. I always wanted to see like a higher budgeted movie that spoofs properly on video game logic, and I think there have been a few now, but like they always feel kind of tacked on to me, like we get it too. I was like, no, you don't get it. But I remember one movie I saw many years ago at MagFest. It was the Karnal movie, believe it or not. And,
whoa.
Yeah, that exists. I remember seeing that, and they kind of made they kind of good, I think. Where am I supposed to go here?
Has anybody made a sprite hack for this game or replacing him with Karnov?
Not yet. Soon. Coming to you.
Oh no, you're actually lost.
We're lost. We'll find our way.
I am a fan of
the keycard.
I am a fan of this aesthetic though, where you have like the bright blue sky contrasted against like the gunmetal gray, and this kind of like fortress thing. They do that a lot. There's a lot of blue skies in this game. It has a nice feeling to it.
Yeah, I actually love that about this game, and the fact that it makes a lot of good use of color and brightness. And this stage is cool too, where Am I going the right way here?
Oh, that's where...
Maybe I need to go back. I can't remember. I can't recall, but I was up there probably. Yeah.
Remember those guys? Oh yeah.
I do remember those guys, the chickens.
Yep.
Chicken littles.
So this game is significantly better than Alfred Chicken.
But yes, there is
On
no
NES.
comparison. It is offensively compared right now to Alpha Chicken.
This doesn't have a level that looks like it's made of cheese.
No, it does not. Also doesn't have music that like makes me question my sanity and my job. So let's see. I also like these RoboCop style robots down there.
Some head action down there.
Yeah.
And is that a pink gorilla?
That is a pink gorilla. Because if you're gonna like build an army of robots, make some of them look like gorillas.
See, this was my favorite thing about this time period is some of the colors that were used in games during this era. Like, obviously it's been talked about before, but like, you know, Sunset Riders. You've got this like dudes in bright pink and like vibrant yellows, and like it's just it's crazy, but I love it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just.
Though I suppose like the vibrant pink of Sunset Riders is kind of in tune with what Marty wore in Back to the Future Part 3 when he first shows up in the Old West.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna grind a bit for health here, just so I'm a little bit more safe.
Hey dudes, let's go grab a burger.
Yeah, this is like the bad dudes. Burger was kind of like the food. I mean, you always talk about the currency of pizza.
Yeah, see, the currency of pizza was very common. So that was the actual currency for children in the US, but I feel like burgers, when you see burgers in a game, it indicated that it was targeting a slightly older audience, perhaps.
Yes, right? A more sophisticated palate.
Exactly.
Because you also have burgers. I mean, burgers are basically health in so many games. But it's like Wolverine on NES that has burgers. What else? I'm sure people will let us know in the comments. What games out there has burgers for health power-ups? Let us know.
Yeah, we need
Send
to
us
know.
a letter to
It's
our
difficult
fan
to
club.
remember them all off the top of my head, but
Right? It's like asking what games have bats as an enemy. It's like, well, where do you start?
which games have a warehouse in them or a sewer?
Oh, this game has a sewer in it.
It sure does.
Coming up. Alright,
Still
I think we're on the right path.
So this ship actually reminds me of a level from Thunder Fox, the second
You
stage.
said ship, right?
Yes, ship, airship kind of thing.
Yes.
It reminds me of the airship from Thunder Fox, which was a Taito game.
Yeah.
Except for that, I think, is that the one, or am I thinking of Shinobi, where it's got the doors that open and rocket you out?
Oh,
there we go. Where do these fights take place, I wonder? I never could quite figure that out.
I mean, this is the computer room, I guess, because I'm always out to get the supercomputers to turn them off.
But just like, what is the floor? Like, what is that?
It's electronics. It's just.
Is it bricks?
That's the future.
Is it a place? Is it like stadium seating? People are like could be in the audience watching you fight this boss.
Could be, but I think it's literally just the future as tiles.
Oh yeah.
It is just
the
an
tiles.
entity.
It's just future.
Yeah, it's just future as an entity, and that's that boss. And we are on to the last sector.
All right.
Yeah, here you have the sewer you were talking about.
That's a really good looking sewer too.
Yeah, it is very TMNT though. Don't you think it's a lot of green? I mean, obviously, I guess there would be a lot of green in a sewer. Yeah, I've actually never been in a real life sewer, believe it or not.
That's a good point. I guess I really have not, so we kind of have to take the game's word for it, but
yeah,
I do appreciate the color usage here. It's a very vibrant place. The blue water, the orange tiles, the green background, the orange ceiling. That is,
right.
It's pretty. And what is that? Is that light? Is it like is it a torch?
It is a torch. I mean, someone came down here and lit it up for us. So it's a very cozy place to be. Now, be honest here. I mean, we're so old now that it doesn't matter anymore. But how many times did you think of going down into the sewers to look for the Ninja Turtles when you were a kid?
I can't say I ever wanted to do that.
Okay, every time I saw an open sewer lid, I contemplated it. I was like, they could be down there. And I might see them if I go down there. Luckily, I did not, because I've heard many stories of kids who did go into the sewers, get stuck, and the police or whatever, the rescue services had to come and get them. So, if you watch this video and you're young enough, please do not jump into the sewers to look for your friends. They are not down there.
No, don't go down there.
But yeah, that's our PSA. Don't go into the sewers to look for your friends.
No, don't do that.
If you do, blame Richard Ledbetter. Yeah, also have these Castlevania style enemies here where it's like the red skeletons who, you know, you've hurt them, they come up and they still operate. Don't need the rations down there. You might sometimes see me skip an item there that we haven't talked about. It's the rations, so you can push start, select it, and fill up your life, but generally don't need it. There's enough health power-ups in the actual stages.
Exactly. Man,
yes,
I like this area too. This is another, like, there's so much great color use and it's just beautiful, man.
yeah, it's not bad, is it? There's a lot of cool things in this game, how they laid it out, so the tile work, great. Consistent too, you know, there's no like, you're never in space or anything like that. It's just good old NES. I think I can go back here, maybe and get up there, or doesn't matter, I need some. No, okay, I got it. It's not the longest game either. I mean, it's on the last proper sector, and then after this there's the final zone, which is shorter than most of the others.
Exactly.
So it's just a fun little game to pick up. You can play it if you're, you know, if you played like with me before. It just sits in your fingers. It's just fun to play. It's so non-intrusive, man. I love this era. It's hard for me these days, I probably shouldn't say work for Digital Foundry, but I really find it hard to sit down with modern gaming and just kind of pick up and play them.
Oh, I have this problem constantly. Like, usually, you know, in the evening, if I sit down to play a game, when I'm sitting down with like a retro game, I just kind of have fun with it. But like, I found myself often like turning on a modern console and just like sitting at the OS menu.
Yeah.
And it's like, what should I play? And it's just like, I think about like, okay, so what do I have to do to actually get into the game? and then
Yeah.
somehow it makes me not want to continue. Where with
Just
these,
a
it's
simple thing like updates.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, like, it just takes... You're so right. It just takes me too long to get into the games, and it just... When I do, there's... The games themselves have a little bit too much going on for me. It's just... I somehow feel a bit, like, overwhelmed and stressed by new games, I find. And, I'm sure other people, you know, who are more used to them, I guess, don't feel this way. But for me, I just find it a little bit kind of intimidating sometimes to get into these new games. And it's a shame because there's so many, like you were talking about Returnal.
Oh, dude, that game is excellent. I do like that one.
Yeah,
there has been a lot of good stuff lately, actually. To be fair.
Absolutely. I'm not talking about the quality of the games at all.
It's just there's a commitment level to these games that
exactly.
You really need to set aside time, which is fine, but it's a different beast compared to these classics, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And because I played Returnal and I was just like, man, this is so much fun. I mean, just somewhat classic design.
That one is a bit more classic than a lot of the other ones. Like, I'm thinking, you know, I just played through Resident Evil Village. It's good.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, to get into that game, you gotta go through, like, an hour of, like, cutscenes and scripted sequences. And, you know, that's kind of the norm these days. So I really appreciate stuff that's very pick up and play. In both the modern and the classic era. But obviously, that's gonna differ per person.
Yeah, because, I mean, you are very Mega Drive, you know, when it comes to your game enjoyment. And I love the Mega Drive. We talk about this all the time. But I think Famicom, for me, is my #1 kind of retro. I collect so much for it. I love it.
It's a good system.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's fundamental, right? You just have to... You have to enjoy the Famicom because it has everything. But... Yeah, I come back to this console all the time and just find new stuff, and I think, you know, I think it's the same for you when it comes to the Mega Drive. It's not a difficult game, I think. You know, it's one where the first time we played, I don't think you'll run through, but the patterns, the enemies, they're all easy to figure out. It's, you know, they're laid out in such a way. None of them really take that many hits, for example, as you can see. Like, at most, it'll take 2. So it's not that much of a grind to get through the game. It's very NES friendly, you know. It's not NES hard at all. Dang, these monkeys.
Oh man. Oh, there's the sky again. But it must be getting to be sunset because there's a little bit of orange in this cloud. Oh.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hello there. And I love the fact that it just stays like this when he's dead.
That is good. You should be able to walk in there, I feel.
Exactly, like Mario 2, right?
Exactly. That's kind of what it looks
Lost
like.
opportunity. Oh man. So another power-up you get in the game, get it early, and I've had it basically the whole game, but you can get like double shot or triple shots, so you can throw more than one boomerang. That's also pretty cool, because you can change directions, you can kind of it's very the controls are very good. Like you have full control, kind of like Simon's Whip in Castlevania 4. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because boomerang weapons, I don't know about you, but I generally detest boomerang weapons in games. I hate projectiles that come back at you. Like, there are a few examples like this where it does absolutely work, but for the most part I find that it's just like annoying because they are always slightly too short to reach their target. Whereas in this game, it for the most part works just fine.
That's right, that's right.
The worst boomerang weapon has to be that Robo Demons on NES. Dear lord, that game. Don't play it.
Robo?
Just watch Robo Demons.
Oh, no.
Fooled me. It tricked me. Doesn't matter. We start right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, Robo Demons was one of those Color Dreams games.
Oh no.
You know, yeah.
Those things. Oh.
It has one of the best deaf sound effects in NES's library, but slightly worse than Viability. Because that has the best one. I don't know if you remember the Viability deaf sound.
Not off the top of my head.
It's like,
I'm not. Viability is such a weird thing because it was like kind of hyped if I recall when it came out.
Oh,
but, like,
of course.
It's not good. It's
it has 3 playstyles, which was kind of the thing.
It's novel. It's novel, but it doesn't really work.
Well, that was another one when you talk about conversions, because this, Power Blade to Power Blade, Viability was Mad City in Japan, and a much easier and more forgiving game. If you play Mad City, it's a fine game. It's not bad at all. But then you play Viability, and it's completely mangled. It is just broken.
I hate that. There was that trend at the time sometimes to mess with game difficulty when localizing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a variety of reasons behind it, but it usually just resulted in an inferior product.
Yeah, because a lot of them were like perfectly balanced to be what they are, right? So it's like when you do something like that, you just end up with like way too difficult games. I mean, they did that on the Mega Drive. I've always heard from the US standpoint that this was done due to the rental market. I don't know.
That's the thing that is always said, but I haven't. I'd like to actually get like a real confirmation on that. Maybe there's an interview out there or something, because that kind of makes sense, but then there's other stuff, like later on, obviously working designs. They built an empire on making changes, if you could call it an empire.
An empire.
But They sometimes really drop the ball there. Like Silhouette Mirage is one of the best examples, or worst examples, I guess you could actually say, where the difficulty is just kind of wrecked by the changes they made to it. Because, like, come on, who's gonna sit here and question Treasure's game balance? Well, maybe you, but
I am.
I think they've done a fine job with their game balance.
No, I joke. I mean, I'm not a fan of Treasure gimmicks most of the time. I'm just kind of like, I get so tired of like the boss battles and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not a huge Treasure game fan. But I play all of them, and I do enjoy them. So it's more of an inside joke. Don't come on Twitter and ask me why I hate Treasure, please. My favorite Treasure game is Bucky O'Hare.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's killing John inside when I say that.
No, yeah, it's a good game, but not really. It's kind of Treasure, but kind of not.
It's Treasure in all but name.
Yeah. Come on, Dynamite Heady. That's.
I actually, Dynamite Heady, that was also made really difficult, no?
The Western version is way more difficult. They made a ton of changes to like just a lot of tweaks, like stuff like how many points it takes to get continue, and like there's this one section where you're moving up a tower, and in the Japanese version it has a set pattern. In the US version they decided to randomize it, and sometimes that means that basically you can only attack during a specific boss attack. But if the randomizer works out where it's like he just does the attacks where you can't attack him, that could go on for like 6, 7, 8 cycles before you even get a chance, and it just makes it annoying.
Right.
Also, the Japanese version has like a story to it, with like bits of dialogue that you can skip quickly. Of course, it's kind of funny stuff, but they took that out as well, which makes some of the sequences in the US version a little bit stranger because it doesn't really make sense, like what's going on, which maybe adds to the charm, I suppose. But at the same time, it's like you don't really know why you're doing any of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I guess that depends on just how much you care about Dynamite Heady and why he's doing what he's doing, but I get what you mean. That was the thing with Rocket Knight Adventure 2, right? It was like they cut out, I think we talked about this in the actual BFR play of Rocket Knight Adventures, but they took stuff out of the US release. It's like cutscenes and things like this.
There's a couple little changes, that's right.
So, never quite understood why they did that.
But hey, at least in this case, you know, with Power Blade, arguably, well, maybe not arguably, they made it better.
Yes, we actually got more with this game.
So
this
and
game is substantially better. Yeah.
So that was kind of a Natsume thing. Serious fun, if you will.
I'm pretty sure that by this time also these games did probably sell more in the Western market than they did in Japan. So, you know, the Shadow of the Ninja, this of course eventually, I think this sold much better than Power Blazer ever did. So, see, this is tricky because this has no discernible pattern. So it's a bit annoying here. See?
Oh, yeah. There's no sound to it either.
No.
So it's kind of... Huh.
Oh, this one I can do. Come on. Alright. We did it. With the power of friendship, we made it through.
It would have been cool though if they changed the color the color of the sky as you move upwards like that. Maybe like an orange sky as you reach the top. That is a cool design, actually.
You think the boss design is cool?
It's so bizarre. Look at that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You're right. I always felt that this this final fight is it's not enough, and kind of lacks something. But I guess people can make that discovery themselves here. He just blah. There's a lot of blah stuff in this game. Just like people keeping their mouths open. Blah. It's a very long game.
Oh man, you almost got it. You only have 618 seconds. Come on.
Oh, don't push the time on me, bro.
Uh-oh.
No. I'm just gonna do this so I have health. And there we go.
There it
That's
is.
it.
You've done it.
So, as you can see, I think that ending, like that end boss, it needs like one more cycle, don't you think?
Yeah, it feels like it's missing there. You're right.
Yeah. So, but this was Power Blade, one of my favorites on NES, one of the best soundtracks on NES, one of the most balanced games on the NES, at least in its later half.
Absolutely.
Really enjoy everything about this game. Hope you enjoy watching it, of course, like Nova does there. And yeah, the soundtrack was actually released on the Taito Sound Volume 2, I think. That was, or the Taito Sound ROM or something like this.
Sound ROM, yeah.
Yeah, ROM collection or something like this. Sound of ROM or something.
Something like that.
We'll have the cover on the screen. So
exactly.
It's just on top of our heads. We can't remember. But as Nova says there, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, of course, like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter. If you're a member of the Patreon and watching this early, thank you so much, because we can only do this because of your support. We can now do more long plays, we can do more DF Retro, the full episodes, which John and I are working very hard on right now.
Oh yeah.
And will be monthly. So I can't understate how much it means to us that you have been a Patreon supporter for a long time, recently, doesn't matter when you jumped on. It is super awesome to see all the support. And of course, in the comment section, let us know what other DF Retro plays you want to see for games that maybe sometimes they can't really get a full episode like this, but I would argue that we got a lot of information even in this episode. So let us know what you want to see. So John, thank you for joining me on this trip down memory lane.
And thank you for playing all the way through it. Well done.
And thank you. Let's do it. Let's give them the thumbs up.